Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'll be talking about C#9 records in action and how you can use them in your own project today, being in an API or whatever. My example, it would be an API using Swagger, Entity Framework, Fluent Validator and Automapper. It's some of the most used packages, or at least for me. So let's jump into the overview of C#9 records first. So I'll just go into the browser. So here I have already opened the blog post from Microsoft describing C#9 records. What is awesome about it is it's immutable by default. You have to make changes to it if you want actually to change that logic. And how they do this is by using this init only properties. That is a new thing. So what you usually do is you have properties as public setters and public getters, but in this case you can just make init only setters, so it can only be created while the object is being created, and afterwards it's closed down again. And that's pretty nice. So that makes it immutable. You cannot change the state after you have created the object. So you can see here some examples of how they have done it, and you actually get an error if you try to change it. So that's pretty awesome. So how you then do changes or make new objects with changes is you use this with expression. So you do it like this. You create your, here is a person record. And then if you want to make a clone of it or a similar object of it, you'd say, I want the person with this change. So it will keep the first name, but the last name will be changed. So I'll actually show this in my API as well. When you do an update statement, I'll do something similar like this. And also, what this let us do is it's value-based equality. So if you create two records with the same property values, they'll actually be compared equal. And I'll also show this in the API because this is pretty awesome. So you can actually make your own change tracker to see what has changed and if no changes has been done at all. Otherwise, records are pretty much what you're used to. You have inheritance, just as you're used to. Not much to say about that. You have these positional records, so if I just scroll a bit down, you can make this new person here, like this, with the constructor, and then you can use positional deconstruction to actually get the first name and last name out. I'll also show this because I think this is pretty nifty. And that's pretty much it, what there is for records. So now I'm going to show you how you can use that today with the normal NuGet packages you're used to. So if I just close down the browser. So in here you can actually see my project. So if I go into the startup, I already started it with a debugger. So as you see here, the first thing you see is Fluent Validator. You actually just add your validators as you're used to. So if I jump into the first one, I'll just start to talk about validators with Fluent Validator. So if I jump in here, you can see here I have my validator, just as you're used to. I'm just pointing to my product request, and my product request is actually a record. So it's just one line of code to create my record here. Instead of creating all the getters and setters and all that kind of stuff, it just has a one-liner. And then instead of using all the time creating those stuff, you can actually spend time making your validators and actually business logic instead of using time on boilerplate code. So that's pretty nifty that you can, with this one line, get what you're used to doing. Like in this example, it would probably be 20 lines for making all the properties and stuff. So I just have some basic validators here, saying name is not null, must be between 3 and 100. The description is not allowed to be null, but it's allowed to be empty, and the price has to be greater than 1. So that's pretty nifty. I'll show this in Swagger later how it actually works. So if we jump back to startup, we can see the next thing I've added is actually my in-memory database. So it's Entity Framework. You could use MySQL, MS SQL, Postgres, whatever you want. I just use the in-memory because I don't need to persist any data right now. So that's pretty nifty. So if I go into my database, I have a normal app context. So you can actually see this is what you're used to see if you use Entity Framework. I have this one product and it has a UID as key. So if I jump into my product, again, a one-liner. I just have a GUID, name, description and price. and it will all be generated for me in the database when I use NC Framework. There's no need to describe more. If I wanted some special logic, I would just do it in here in my model creating, like say is mandatory, is blah blah blah, foreign keys, whatever. Works as you're used to. There's only one minor change with NC Framework, and that is when you update a product, because it's now immutable per default, you cannot just fetch out the product and then make the changes and then save, because you cannot change the values per default. But I'll show you right now how that works. So I have my product service here. So if I go down here, I've already attached the debugger on the update statement. So what I do is I fetch out the product I want to update. I use no tracking, because if I do not do this, I'll actually get exception when I try to create a product right down here. So instead, what I do is I say I get the product and then I make the changes I want, like change name, change description, and change price. I want to have the UID to be the same. Actually, if you want it, you can also split it up to several methods, like update name, update description, update price, blah blah blah. And then you can do it similarly, so you don't have to change all the fields at once, you can just change some of them. And then I have here to check, is there actually any changes? Because it's a record, I can just use equals to like this. And that's the value-based equation. I don't see it as an exception if there's no changes. It could be, for example, I use a double-click the save button or something like that. So I just log the message, I update the product, and I save changes. So that's pretty simple. I'll show that in Swagger in a moment. And the last package was Automapper. So if we go up to our API, you can see I have a product request. This is the one I use to actually create a product or update the product. So again, you can see here my validators as described before, and the response I am using Automapper. So I just have a product DTO and a product response, and it's just a record as instead of a class. So it works as you're used to. You don't have to do any changes. So if I look into the API, you can just see map. When I want all of them, I just map to a list. When I want one of them, I just map to a single. So that's pretty simple to work with. And another thing with record was the deconstruction. So what I do, instead of making a product create DTO, I just use deconstruction. So what I do is I get the request down here. I just fetch out the values, name, description, and price as showed in the blog post. And I just create product from the service. And the same for when I update the product, I do entirely the same. So as you can see here, the code is what you're used to, just a lot less lines of code. So if I go back in the browser, you can actually show that it all works together. So open the browser again, go into Swagger, fetch out all the products. So I have only one product in the big database right now, so if I go inside and create a new one, just show the Fluent Validator, I try to create a product without a price. So I get that exception. If I try to remove a field here, I actually get 2 errors. Price must be greater than 1 and description will not be null. So if I go back in here and just give it some value. Oh, I cannot have a leading to. Try again. Create it. So if I go up to the top, fetch all out, you can see I've actually stored one of them in my database now. And if I go down to update, if I just take a UID with me so I can make an update. So the update request here, I just need to put in the UID. So it goes, I'll just make them small so I can actually find it. Zoomed a bit much in right now. So I want to update this product. Let's just say AAA, And see again, my validator is actually working. The price is not right. Must be greater than 1. Create it. And then we can see A has the price of 42. So that's pretty much it. So if I just go back to the intro. All your NuGet packages today can be used as you're used to, more or less. There will be some minor changes as you saw with the update statement. With saving in the database, you just have to update the fields you want and then save it and use node tracking for the entity framework model. And I actually think this is a good thing because you don't want to track all objects anyway, and it's good to be immutable. It introduces less software bugs. So I hope you liked today's video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and see you again next time. Bye!